you should always focus on what you can give, not what you can get. And there is this, speaking of movements, there is this movement happening right now in social media where it's the selfie generation. It's how many likes can I get? How many followers can I get? How many views can I get? How much engagement can I get? How many comments can I get? How many sales can I get? How many reviews can I get? It's not about what you can get. Business is not about what you can get. It's not about the money you can get, the fans you can get. It's about what you can give.
This is the L3 Leadership Podcast, episode number 205. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the L3 Leadership Podcast. My name is Doug Smith, and I am your host. I hope you're doing well. In today's episode, you'll hear my interview with the creator of the Business Boutique and Ramsey personality, Christy Wright. If you're unfamiliar with Christy, she is a certified business coach. She's creator of the Business Boutique movement, which equips women to make money doing what they love. And she's one of the Ramsey personalities working for Dave Ramsey. She's also author of the book Business Boutique and host of the Business Boutique podcast. And she has spoken to thousands across the country at women's conferences and at business conferences. In the interview, you'll hear Christy talk about how to get started in business, how you should price your product or service, how to build a movement, how to balance work and life, her advice to working moms, and of course, we take her through our lightning round questions as well. You're going to love this. One thing I really loved about the interview with Christy is she is so practical. She just gives you so much that you can actually just go to work on immediately after listening to it. So get ready for an awesome interview. Also, this is really exciting. We've partnered with Christy to provide L3 listeners with a 10% discount to her Business Boutique event in Nashville this November. So if you'd like to learn more about that and attend the event, you can simply go to businessboutique.com and use the discount code L3Leadership, and you'll get 10% off of your ticket price. So I encourage you to check that out as well. Before we dive into the interview, just a quick announcement. If you are in ministry, you're a church leader or a church member, then I want to let you know about an event that you will not want to miss. My friends at Amplify Church and their leader, Lee Kreitcher, are hosting their annual Future Forward Conference here in Pittsburgh on October 2nd and 3rd, 2018. And this year, they're going to be having Carey Nieuwhof as the keynote speaker. And if you don't know Carey, you need to. He's incredible. In fact, I had the honor of interviewing him in episode 134 of the L3 Leadership Podcast, and I encourage you to check that out. But this is an awesome opportunity to meet him and learn from him. And so if you'd like to learn more about the conference and register your team, you can simply go to futureforwardchurches.com. With that being said, let's dive right into the interview. Enjoy it, and I'll be back at the end with a few announcements. Thank you, Christy, so much for being willing to do this interview. And why don't we just start off with you just telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited about this. I'm a certified business coach and Ramsey personality, and I lead the Business Boutique, which is where we are equipping women to make money doing what they love. I just love helping women start side businesses and small businesses and grow their businesses so they can find work that matters to them and really create the income and the flexibility that will help them create a life that they love. So it's been an incredible 5 years, I guess now, of building this thing. And that's really where my heart is taking my background in business and helping women win with business.
Sure. So let's just talk about Business Boutique right now. So I'm just curious, can you dive a little deeper? I know you wrote a book and now it's turned into this whole movement. Can you kind of give scope to why you created Business Boutique and the services that you offer?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's really important to look at different seasons of your life and pay attention to what God's doing. And the stage that I'm in right now, I'm starting to see puzzle pieces, if you will, of my life come together in a way I couldn't have anticipated. So a few years ago, when we were looking as a company, Ramsey Solutions, for the succession and scalability for the future, Ramsey personalities was really the vision behind that. And I was a speaker and we wanted to move me into this space. And so we started to try to find the intersection between my story and my strengths and my skills and the need in the marketplace and the opportunity in the marketplace. And that's really where Business Boutique, the early stages, we didn't have the name at the time, of course, but that's where the idea and the concept was birthed because my mom started a business when I was 6 months old as a single mom. And she still has that business to this day, by the way. So I was raised by a single mom entrepreneur. So that shaped me greatly in life. I've always loved business. I have a degree in business. And then I became a certified business coach and I've done business coaching for years, even before Business Boutique. So I obviously have a heart and skills and experience in business. But then you see in the marketplace, there's never been a better time to start a business. So you have thousands, millions of people entering the marketplace in order to take their idea to market, or take their hobby and turn it into a business, or quit their full-time job that they hate and do something that they love. There are a variety of motivations, maybe moms that want to have more flexibility with their kids. But the holdup is they don't know business. They don't have a background in business like I do. They don't know business. And so they get excited about their idea, their craft, or their product, or their service. And they get out there and it gets hard, and they get overwhelmed, and they think, well, what about taxes? And how do I sell without being pushy? And when do I pay myself? And what about business licenses? And it's at that moment that they want to give up. And they think, well, I was never cut out for business anyway. Well, I don't have a background in business. I don't have a business degree. I guess this was always a bad idea. I should have never done it. And that's not true. You need what anyone needs. You just need help. And so I love coming alongside people, men and women, but specifically we help women in the business boutique, coming alongside them and helping them with the business side of things so that they can do more of what they love and less of what they don't. And they can win in business, even if, gasp, they are not business minded or have a business background. You just need help in those things, and they can still win. They just need help. And that's where I come in. So I just love taking my strengths and background and taking that to market and solving that problem for people so they can build businesses also.
I love that. So talk to the man or woman listening who that idea of starting a business is gone around in their head, but they don't know where to start. What's your recommendation to them? Should I know there's a lot of network marketing businesses out there that they can join. They may have a passion for something and not know if it's a good business idea or not. Where can people just start with this idea of starting a business?
So if they have an idea, if they already have an idea, but they're not sure where to start, I will tell you the most important first step of any business is identifying the problem it solves. So let's talk about that for a second. When you have a hobby, it's very focused on you. It doesn't need to solve a problem. It's a creative outlet. You just love it. You do it because it's fun. If you decide to turn that hobby into a business, or if you just decide to start a business that has nothing to do with the hobby, that then becomes others focused. It's not focused on you, and it's not for you. It's for others. And that's why we start businesses, is to help people in some way, to solve a problem or fill a need, or somehow serve people in some way. And so you have to know what problem you solve through your business idea. Once you know that, though, that's why this is the most important first step. Once you know that, you have so many other really important pieces of information about your business. This business idea goes from really, really fuzzy to more clear. And then you begin to see these pieces come together and begin to see how this could work. So for example, once you know the problem that you solve, you also know your target market, because your target market are people that have that problem. So now you know who you exist to serve and who you're going to go after in your marketing, who your customer is that you're going to build products and services for, who to research, who to get to know, that kind of thing. The second piece of information is your value proposition. You know your basis for charging. Why would someone pay you? Because you solved that problem. So now you've got confidence in your pricing. You've got direction around what your price should be. You've got confidence in your value proposition, because now it's no longer a hobby. Like, well, how would I ever get people to pay me for my painting? Well, when you know the problem those paintings solve, you now have confidence in getting paid for that thing that you used to do just for fun. You also know your marketing language, because all you're going to talk about all day, every day, on your website, in your brochures, in your social media, is how you solve that problem. So when you uncover the most important piece of information about your business, which is the problem you solve, you begin to see with more clarity all these other aspects of your business. You also know that is a viable business idea, because if you solve a problem, then you can make money. You can charge for it, and it can make money. Now, I will tell you as a side note, people ask me all the time, how do I know if my idea can make money? You know if your idea can make money if it solves a problem. That's what you charge for. It can make money. What I really think they're asking, though, is will it? Will it make money? And the only way to know if your idea will make money is to try it. You've got to put it out there, and it's a conversation we have with the marketplace, and they respond, and you iterate and tweak things and turn up this dial and turn down this dial as you learn and get your feet wet in business. But I think people are asking, can it make money, when what they're really asking is, will it make money? And the only way to know if it will is by actually trying it. But identifying the problem you solve through your business is the best first step for any person, man or woman, in any industry. You've got to know the problem you solve.
Yeah, so a little bit about charging. So I am curious, do you have any advice or thoughts on how to actually figure out what to charge? I'm really interested in the psychology of this, right? So you probably have people that are, thinking I'm not worth anything, so I'm going to charge as low as possible. And then you have people on the other end of the spectrum of charging high. How can people figure out what to charge for their service or product?
Yeah, the way that I teach people and coach people are to look at multiple variables and you come up with a price range. And within that price range, you test. So it's not a perfect formula where you plug in all these numbers and you come up with an exact number and that's the price you stay at forever. It doesn't work like that. And, the biggest corporations in the world do price testing and they're trying to figure it out like we are. They are in boardrooms going, well, should we start here or here? So we'd like to believe it's black and white, but it's not. It's actually a really gray area topic. But I will tell you a couple different variables to look at. Let's talk about specifically product-based businesses. Product-based businesses want to look at several variables. You obviously want to look at your cost of goods and materials. So what goes into creating that product? You want to look at your other expenses. So overhead of running your business, lighting and phone bills and delivery and shipping, packaging and stamps and that type of thing. You want to look at your location. So if you are a retail storefront, for example, in downtown Nashville, you're going to be able to charge more than someone that's in small town Alabama. So your location can dictate the price, especially if it's an in-person product or service for that matter, depending on the geographic location. You want to think about the quality. How high quality is it? Is it really high quality leather in your wallets, or is it kind of the cheapo plastic in your wallets? That's going to dictate the price, which obviously would affect the cost of goods as well. You want to think about your competition. You don't want to price based on your competition, but you need to know what they're charging. You also want to understand what the market will bear. So for products specifically, there is a more narrow range of what the market will bear for products. So for example, a pie. Pies usually cost between $10 and $40. If you've got a $200 pie, like this pie better make me lose weight, not gain weight, right? Like there must be something very special about your pie if it's $200 because the market won't bear a $200 pie. It's probably between $10 and $40. Now here's what's interesting, and I want to speak to your listeners that have service-based businesses. While the range is very tight on product-based businesses because it's typically a markup from your cost of goods, there are no cost of goods in services. Right? It's just your time, your skills, your talent. If you're a photographer, if you're an attorney, if you're, business coach or personal organizer, fitness coach, that type of thing. So in the service-based business, the range of what the market will bear, the range for competition, the range that you can charge is so much wider, which can make it more difficult to charge. So you have photographers that will shoot your wedding for free because they want to build their portfolio, and you have photographers that are $50,000 to shoot your wedding. You have public speakers that will speak at your high school reunion for free, and you have those that are $250,000 for a 1-hour keynote. So there's an incredibly huge range in the service-based business because it's a little bit more of a gray area. There's no cost of goods you're marking up, and it has more to do with your skills, your talent, the value you bring. Now let's camp here with the service-based business. And I'm super tactical on this one just because I think this will give people things to hold on to and take home and apply. If you're in the service-based business, there are certain times that you need to raise your prices. So if you're just starting out, you're a newbie photographer and you want to have quote unquote introductory rates as the newbie to get experience, fine. That's totally fine. Don't stay there though. So here are some different scenarios in which you would want to raise your prices. Each year, prices go up every year. Inflation, cost of living. Every year you should raise your prices, probably in both businesses, product and service based, but definitely in service based. You notify your customers, my 2019 rates for cutting your hair are, I get this letter every year, I still pay those rates, you expect it. So go ahead and plan for that. If you get any awards, like in your industry. So our wedding photographer, this was in 2012, shot our wedding. That fall, he was awarded the Nashville Scene Best Photographer of the Year in Nashville. So when my friend got a quote from him in the spring of the next year, his prices had gone up significantly, and that was absolutely appropriate. He was the best photographer in Nashville. His prices should reflect that. If your portfolio grows, you have some really big name clients. If you have big name clients that you've worked with, that justifies a price increase. That is a indicative of your quality, or should be. For example, as a speaker, once I had spoken for multiple Fortune 500 companies like Bayer or Verizon, my speaking fee went up. So there, in the service-based business, it can help you know when to raise your prices, not just over time, but as you maybe hit some of these milestones, to help you know how and when to raise them. But the other thing you want to keep in mind, and this is for product and service-based businesses, two main things that I would drive home. Do not be the cheapest. That I can't stress that enough. Being the cheapest is a bad pricing plan. You have something to offer. If your only unique advantage is the fact that you're the cheapest, if the only value you can bring or the thing that you can stand on is the fact that you're the cheapest, you've got a bigger problem in your business. Being the cheapest is a race to the bottom where whoever wins loses. This is not a good pricing plan. So do not be the cheapest. If you look at competition and think, oh, great, I'll be the cheapest so people will buy from me, that is a bad strategy. You need to have something else where you bring value to people, and guess what? They're happy to pay it. Not just willing to, happy to, because you solve their problems and bring value to their life. So being the cheapest is a bad plan. That's one thing I really want people to keep in mind whenever they're pricing for their business, product or service. It doesn't matter, product or service. The other thing that I would keep in mind is this is something that you're always testing. You're always testing and iterating. You'll try a price and then maybe next year the price goes up. You'll kind of work within a range. You could do split testing. So it's not something that it's set it and forget it. And you definitely, one last thing I will add about that is you need to know your market, because if there's a group of people that you want to help, you need to know what they will pay. Now, you can start with your price and attract people who will pay that, or you can start with your market and say, I want to help this group of people. What are they willing to pay? And you can start with either, but your price needs to match your market, because your target market are the group of people that want what you have to offer and they're willing to pay the price you charge. You don't want to try to help a group of people that have an average household income, for example, of $50,000, and you've got, your lowest price course is $5,000. There's a disconnect there. So you want to make sure that whatever price you come up with matches the market that you're trying to serve so that you can actually serve them.
This is so good and so practical, which I love. I love just actually something we can take home and do. So you mentioned earlier that oftentimes all people need is help. And so you've created this whole community business boutique to help people in this exact situation. So I'm just curious. I know you have a conference coming up. I know you have an entire membership site that people can join. Can you tell people that are listening and saying, wow, that last 5 minutes was unbelievably helpful. I want more. How can people connect with you and what you're doing and get involved so they can have a community helping them with some of these issues?
Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Well, everything is at businessboutique.com. So what you'll find there is the book. I have a book that is the step-by-step plan to start your business or grow your business. We have action items at the end of each chapter. It's kind of like a workbook where you're, filling out your business plan as you go. So that would be a great starting level resource for people. We have the Business Boutique podcast, which is obviously totally free, and it's available on wherever you listen to iTunes. And I have interview guests and teach there. The Business Boutique Academy is actually my coaching group, and that is only, enrollment is not open right now, but it will be open the last week of September. So I'm not sure when this airs, but that's the only week that it's open. But people can find out about that at businessboutique.com. And then I have a couple courses. Like if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to start a business, but I don't know what my idea is. I don't know what my business should be. I have a course called Business Idea Bootcamp. And that's where I walk you through a framework of how to brainstorm all of the best business ideas from the most important areas of your life, like your story and your strengths and so on, and then narrow that down and put it through a series of tests to find your best business idea so that you know which idea you should run with. So if anyone's listening and they don't have a business, but they're thinking, I'd like one, or I'd like to know if my business idea is good, kind of like we were talking about, that course would be a great starting point because it helps you know what your business should be. And then you can read the book and fill out the plan, but it's not really helpful to have a plan if you don't know what your idea is. So there's a lot of variety. I don't really care where or how people get help. I just want them to get help. And certainly here in Nashville, November 1st through the 3rd, we'll be having a really fun event. It's close to selling out, so I don't know when this will air, if there'll be tickets still available, but that's always a good time. We have a great lineup of speakers. But yeah, my heart is just for helping people chase their dreams. And so even if they just listen to the podcast and they never buy anything, that's okay, because I want people to get the help they need. And we have a variety, kind of like we were talking about, a variety of products and services. So whatever fits your budget and your dream, there's something for you. So that's really my goal.
I love that. And just a side note, if you're listening to this, we did work out a deal with Ramsey Solutions that if you want to attend the Business Boutique Conference in November and use the code L3 Leadership, you get 10% off your tickets, and I highly encourage you to go check them out.
Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I am curious, as far as building a movement or a tribe or a community, what have you learned that's working? Obviously, this is blown up and Business Boutique is everywhere. What's been extremely helpful? And if someone is just starting from scratch building their community, what would you encourage them to spend their time doing?
Oh, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of things that lead to people connecting with a person or people connecting with a brand. I think first and foremost, being authentic and being real, not being plastic, being a very relatable, real person. Part of the reason I think that I connect with moms is because I'm a mom, or I connect with women trying to balance it all is because I'm trying to balance it all. And they see pictures of me trying to wrangle my crazy kids or talk about Laundry Mountain that never goes away in my house. Like, it's real life. And I show that side, not to almost like a manipulation technique, but to say, I'm like you and this is hard and we're in this together. And that's not marketing. That's real. That's true. And so I think being authentic gives your tribe something authentic to connect with. They will sniff out fake plastic all day, any day. And nobody wants that. They want a real person to connect with. And so being real and honest, I think, is really, really important. And then I would say the second thing in terms of building a tribe is, and this is probably the most important thing you can do in business, in social media building, in speaking, in writing, in podcasting, you should always focus on what you can give, not what you can get. And there is this, speaking of movements, there is this movement happening right now in social media where it's the selfie generation. It's how many likes can I get? How many followers can I get? How many views can I get? How much engagement can I get? How many comments can I get? How many sales can I get? How many reviews can I get? It's not about what you can get. Business is not about what you can get. It's not about the money you can get, the fans you can get. It's about what you can give. And people can tell the difference. And so I'll give you a practical example. I will have people come up to me sometimes at Business Boutique events, and they'll stand in line to shake my hand, or I'll have me sign their book or whatever. And they'll say, I want to do what you do. I want to be a speaker. I want to be a speaker. I want to be on that stage right there. And I think that's awesome. I actually really love coaching speakers. I love helping them learn the craft and that type of thing. But here's what I always say, Doug. I say, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? And there's a difference that happens in that moment, because the people that answer me instantly, they know what they want to say. They know that burning message in your heart that they have to share, the people they have to help, the hope they want to spread. Those are the people that are focused on what they can give. The people that are silent are the ones that I begin to question if they're in it for the spotlight. They're in it because it looks cool. They're in it because I want to be on stage. I'm not on stage because I care about a spotlight. I never had a dream in my life to be an author or speaker, Doug. God opened these doors. I was like, people were like, oh, were you so happy of a dream fulfilled of writing a book? I was like, that little 16-year-old girl in high school never had that dream. I couldn't dream that big. That's, it's like the Bible says, more than you could ask or imagine. And it's about what you can give. So if you have people that are listening that are podcasters, when you're crafting an episode, everything about that podcast episode should be what you can give. Not, can I get people to join my email list? What can I give? When you go on stage, what value can I give? Not, can I get a standing ovation? Can I get applause? What can I give? How can I help people? In business, what can you give? So what that does is it changes your whole heart and how you approach your customers, and people gravitate towards that, because not only are you authentic, but you're giving to them. You're giving them value. You are insanely generous. But what will happen is they will give right back. They will give you those reviews. They will give you their money. They will pay you. You will earn a profit. You will be successful and have fans and followers, but it's not because you set out to get it. It's because you focused on giving, and the response, people responded to that generosity. That's the way the best business works, when you focus on what you can give. And by the way, it's also just a great relationship tactic. Like in your marriage, focus on what you can give. Focus on how you can give your spouse compliments, not get them. How you can give extra help around the house, not get it. And when you focus on what you can give, watch how they respond. It's a brilliant strategy in all aspects of life if you just focus on what you can give.
I love that. And speaking of being authentic, so I love that. And you talked about being a mom. And just a side note, again, I don't watch all of your Instagram stories, but I love when you just go, y'all. Again, I'm not from the South, but I just love that. I wish I could pull that off, but I can't. But you talk to moms that are listening to this. So my wife and I also have two kids, and my wife just went back to work after our second one after maternity leave. What are you learning about being a mom and working at the same time that could be helpful to those listening?
So many things, Doug. So many things I'm learning.
Let's go.
I will, a couple things. I have noticed, and this is, I think probably some of your listeners will identify with this. I think this is a men's and women's issue. It just evidences itself differently. But I think that where the guilt in my life comes from focusing on the wrong thing. So I'll give you an example. Women tend to, and I can only speak on behalf of women since I am one, but women tend to always focus on where we are not, what we are not doing, where we are falling short, where we have failed in some way. So if I'm on this podcast episode with you, I could be thinking about my kids. Are they okay? Are they sick? Did I get dinner ready? Do they have what they need? And then I'm not present with you and I feel guilty for not being with them. But then I go home and I'm physically present with them, but I'm thinking about, I didn't finish that email and I never wrote that script and I didn't respond to that phone call and I'm behind at work. And even though my body's with them, I feel guilty because I'm focused on work, because I'm always focused on where I'm not. We look at our to-do list and we don't focus on what we did do. We focus on what we didn't get to. And we live our lives perpetually full of guilt. And so the shift for me happened when I realized I'm not going to focus on where I'm not. I'm going to focus on where I am. And that helps me shake the guilt. So the analogy I use is a car. And it's the difference of living your life perpetually looking in the rearview mirror of what you're leaving behind. And instead flipping it and saying, I'm going to look through the front windshield of where I am and what I'm driving to. So right now, Doug, I'm hanging out with you and I'm not thinking about my kids. You know what? They're fine. They're totally fine. And so I get to be with you and talk about leadership and talk about business and talk about helping women and men chase their dreams. And I am in it. I am totally here with you. But when I go home, I'm going to be with my kids and I'm not going to be thinking about you or your listeners or anything. I'm going to be playing on the playground with my kids. And it's about being present where you are. And I think we miss our life when we focus on where we're not. And that's where that guilt comes from. Of course, we feel guilty if all we ever think about is what we didn't do and where we didn't go and what we didn't get to. And of course, you don't get to everything. And of course, you're not everywhere. You can't be everywhere and do everything. But in place of all those things you didn't get to, there's a shining list of things you did, things you did well, places that you were successful and things you did check off. And so I think it's just so easy to focus on what we didn't get to. I think this really hit me, Doug, actually, when I came back from maternity leave with my first son, Carter. And I didn't do a lot of things on maternity leave that I thought I would. I didn't take my son to a pumpkin patch. I didn't fill out a scrapbook like I thought for sure I would, because all the good moms for sure do that on maternity leave. I didn't do a lot of things, but here's what I did do. And I could focus on that. Oh, I failed. I didn't go to pumpkin patch. We didn't get the annual pumpkin patch pictures. And now we actually have a baby to put in the pumpkin patch picture. You know, all this, it sounds silly, but it's so real.
No,
it
I'm
really
with you. Yeah.
wears on your soul and your spirit and your confidence. But here's what I did do. I worked really hard on maternity leave to work out and get back in shape, which made me feel good about myself. I could wear my clothes. I went back to work and I could be on stage and have energy. I traveled some and I actually brought my son with me. So no, he wasn't in a pumpkin patch land, but he got to see his mom on stage and travel with me and be in different cities. He'd been like 7 states in his first year of life. Like there were a lot of things I did do. And so in any season of life, in any day, you can focus on what you didn't do, or you can focus on what you did do. And I just encourage men and women to be proud of what you did do. Because when I do that, when I look through the front windshield, it helps me shake the guilt. And life balance is not about this 50-50 split of work and home. That's not realistic. It's about being 100% present. Wherever you are, be there. Be where your feet are, and then you won't miss the moment you're actually in.
That is so good. We have a few minutes left, and I have to ask this, but you've been a part of Ramsey Solutions now for years and get to work for one of the best leaders, I'm sure, in the world, Dave Ramsey. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in leadership and business just as a result of being on staff at Ramsey Solutions?
This is going to sound so simple, and it may even, some of your listeners may say, oh, that's cheesy, that's fine, but it's true. This is an easy answer for me because it affects everything we do here. Live your life and run your business by the golden rule. It's that simple. Treat other people how you want to be treated. When you have a team member that needs time off because they have a sick baby, how would you want to be treated? When you have a customer that's frustrated because their package came and the dog chewed it up and the mailman basically kicked it to their front door, how would you want to be treated? Like in every scenario, if you treat people how you'd want to be treated, what will happen is you will be so insanely generous. And you know why? Because that's what you would want people to do with you. You know, Doug, this has even affected, we have a nanny. I had someone tell me one time, by the way, that I shouldn't say that publicly because people will think it's too bougie. I don't even care, Doug. Here's the thing. I need help. Okay. My nanny helps us. I'm not even
My nanny's
sad.
upstairs.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you.
My nanny has changed my life. So I have a nanny and I'm proud of it. That's fine. Anyway, so our nanny in the spring, she's amazing. She is a part of our family. I adore her. I adore her so much. She's not a quote unquote employee. She's a part of our family. Now we have expectations of hours and pay, and we have a professional relationship, but she's family. And she came to me in February and said, my dad's dying. He has cancer. And I said, you need to go home and you need to stay for a long time. And she went home and spent the whole last month of his life by his side. And we figured it out. And we paid for everything. And I don't regret that 1 minute. Because why? Because you treat people how you'd want to be treated. Because if it was my dad, I'd want to be by his side. And it's amazing how that one principle can change how you run your business and how you live your life. Live your life by the golden rule and treat people how you would want to be treated. It's that simple.
I love that. We have a few minutes left. Just want to ask you a bunch of fun questions, what I call the lightning round.
Oh, good. I like fun questions.
Yeah. So
I need it because I just got choked up. So let's take it up.
I know.
Sorry.
I'm getting choked up too. So what is one belief or behavior that's changed your life?
It's all God's. It's all God's. I can't be arrogant about anything because everything's God. Even my work ethic, Doug, is God's. Like I can't even be proud of the fact that I work my butt off because the fact that I work really hard, that work ethic is God-given. So if you just realize that God owns it all, it really does help you have the right heart of being a steward of what you have, your money, your place, your things, your kids, they're not my kids. It's not my business. It's not my brand. It's God's. And I need to steward it. And that has game changer for me.
Love it. If you could put a quote on a billboard for everyone to read, what would it say?
You got this. That's it. That's what I write in all my books when I sign it. And that's what the title of the last chapter of my book. I think it's just speaking that life over people and that confidence over people. You got this. You can do it. Stick with it. You got this.
What's the best purchase you've made in the last year for $100 or less?
Are you ready for this? This is
ready.
So good. I'm not a sponsor of this company. Let me start by this. It's really just that good. $22, I believe is how much it is. And it's this Bumble and Bumble hair powder that means that it makes me not have to wash my hair every day. Now, Doug, that may not sound like a big deal to you, but for a girl that gets ready, that has saved me equivalent of like 5 hours a week. Do you know what I can do in 5 hours a week? Like change the world, Doug. Like this hair powder, $22. $22 got me 5 hours a week. That's some good ROI.
Bumble and Bumble?
Yeah, hair powder.
I'll ask my wife as soon as we're done with this.
It's so fantastic. I don't have to wash my hair, but every few days. It's so great.
That's awesome. Best book you've read in the last year outside of Ramsey Solution books and your own, obviously.
I'm reading right now. I'm still in the middle of it. I've been reading it for a while because I kind of took a break. Grit by Angela Duckworth. A fantastic book about passion and perseverance. I'm just like so into it right now.
Favorite podcast outside of Ramsey Solution podcasts, which are awesome?
I've got a few. I love Amy Porterfield, Andy Stanley, Pat Flynn, which is Smart Passive Income, fantastic one, and Gold Digger with Jenna Kutcher. Those are all good ones. Amy Porterfield and Pat Flynn are probably my top two.
Love it. They're both excellent. We're running out of time. I know you have the list there.
No, you're good. I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Where were we? What do you wish you knew about? What do you wish people knew about your journey that they may not know?
I got to think about this one for a second. I think that you may know this, I guess, because I just got choked up, but I feel like most people don't know that I'm actually insanely sensitive. Like I've kind of got this like hard driving, fast paced, super aggressive, go-getter thing going, which is true. I mean, I am like, I'm super ambitious. Dave has referred me, true story, publicly, by the way, on stage, on the radio show, and in staff meeting, as a bulldozer, a steamroller, a beast, and a force of nature. So first of all, good thing I'm confident because none of those are feminine words.
Yeah.
But I mean, if anybody's familiar with the DISC assessment, I'm very high. I'm like 99% I. I'm very high D, like 85, but I'm a pretty high S, which is the sensitive. And so I'm sensitive to others with empathy. Like I can't watch a story without getting teared up, or a movie, or but I'm also sensitive myself. So you'd think like, well, because she's so tough, I bet negative feedback doesn't even faze her, and it does. Like, I mean, I get, my feelings get hurt, like anybody else's. So I think people I think are always kind of surprised by that. just because I'm just always out there on the front lines, like, let's, just kind of go get her steamroller apparently. But definitely very sensitive as well.
What's your greatest challenge right now?
Organization, like kids and piles and puppies and paperwork. Like, help a sister out. Like it's a struggle.
What are you dreaming about now?
We are in a weird transition with Business Boutique in a good way, in a really good way. But I think we're about to turn the whole business model on its head. And I'm dreaming with the business leaders of what this could look like. And I think the future is going to look very different from what we thought when we started, which is what business is. Like, you're always iterating, you're always changing and responding. I think there's some low hanging fruit and that we're missing out on some opportunities. And so I'm really dreaming about the future of Business Boutique and what the next year to 2 years could be, that I think we'll see incredible growth and impact just because we're opening our mind to opportunities we didn't think about when we started. We started with what we knew, and now we're going, there's some other stuff that we didn't know, and now we're learning it, that I think is helping us change the model. So Business Boutique, I know that sounds vague, but changing the business model of Business Boutique.
Great. You now have an additional 5 hours a week thanks to the Bumblebee or Bumble. I'm just curious, what is the greatest investment outside of your family, which is obvious, of your time and money right now that you're seeing a return on?
I mean, my first response would obviously be just my kids, just that quality time with kids, and I want to point that out: quality time, not screen time, quality time, like where your phone is down and you're looking them in the eyes and playing. I guess if I can't say family, which is my natural, I would say myself. And what I mean by that is things that make me like myself. And women are very prone to pushing that to the background. Like, I don't need to take care of me. They always put themselves last. But what happens is, if they never fill themselves up, then they have nothing to give. And so when I go for a run for myself, or when I go get a massage, or when I read a good book, or I, have a night alone, if that ever happens, if I do something for me, I'm happier and I'm better for my family, and I'm a better mom, and I'm a better wife, and I'm a better leader because I took some time to take care of me. I took some time to do things that make me like myself. And a lot of women, unfortunately, have this Mother Teresa syndrome where they just, want to be the hero to everybody all day, but they live their lives rushed and running ragged, and they're grumpy and busy and burnt out. And I don't think anybody wants that. Like, I want my kids to see a happy mom. I think the best thing I can do for my kids is not be a helicopter mom providing for, staring at their eyes all day, every day, giving them everything they want, but just take some time for me and be a happy person to be around. And so I think that is one of those things that men and women, by the way, we're so goal-oriented and productivity-driven that we dismiss that because we don't see immediate ROI. But there's an unbelievable return on your investment when you take some time for you, for those things that make you come alive and fill you back up so that you can give to other people. But if you're running on empty, you don't have anything to give. So I think, just in terms of time, man, those times that I take an hour to go for a run myself always pays off for everybody, by the way, not just for me, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband's like, please go run. Please. You're so much nicer when you come back. Please go run.
I'm with you. I hear you. Do you have one or two questions that are go-to when you get to spend time with high-quality leaders? Obviously, you guys have leaders coming in there all the time that are great to spend time with. What are your favorite questions to ask them?
I like to ask about problems. So like, I not to focus on the negative, but I'm like, what's a blind spot you see young people have? Or what's a blind spot you see up and coming leaders have? What's a big mistake, a common mistake you see? Because it helps me avoid those things. Like, I know a lot of right things. I'm around a lot of right teaching. I have great mentors, and I read books, and I get a lot of the right stuff. But what are the wrong things that maybe trip people up that I didn't see, a landmine that I wouldn't see coming, that I could get caught up in? And so, for example, I have a leader that pours into me here, and he's on the board, and he's just brilliant leader. And he said, Christy, because we're wired the exact same, so he really gets me. And he said, Christy, you get places really quickly. And when you cut, like, mentally, you're like, you've already jumped to 15 steps ahead of everybody else. Like, you get there really quickly. And he said, it's not that that's not the right place to go, but when you go there so fast and other people don't go with you, they feel bulldozed. Imagine that. We're seeing a theme. He said, if you would start by asking questions, even if you already know the answer, even if you already know where you're going, it will make people feel like a participant. There's incredible wisdom there, because it's not that where I got was wrong or we're not going to get there, but that's a blind spot that I might come across in a way that I didn't mean to. So I like asking leaders and mentors about what are mistakes, what are blind spots, what are hurdles and holdups and things that trap people that can be dangerous, and that kind of shows you what to avoid and maybe what to reflect on yourself. Like, do I have that in me, and what can I change in me that maybe, there's some of that there. So I kind of focus on that side of things.
Yeah. So you talked about the 16-year-old Christy who didn't have the ability to dream as big as what you're doing today, which I love. But if you can go back, whether you're 16 or 20 or 25 and have coffee with yourself, what would you tell that Christy Wright?
Right now, today, Doug, literally, you want the literal answer? I would say, Christy, please wear sunscreen. Like, please. One day, your skin is not going to be so elastic and just flourishing, and you're going to have crow's feet around your eyes. Please wear sunscreen, sister. I know you think it's cute in Panama City to put on your tannin oil. No, I mean, I really would. Like, awesome. I think I would tell her, the immature her, to just, all the things: save money, learn Spanish, wear sunscreen, all the things I wish I had now.
Yeah.
Had done earlier in life.
And so on the opposite end of your life, what do you hope that your family would say about you at the end of your life? And what do you want your legacy to be, at least at this point in your life?
A real theme I'm noticing, and because I kind of pay attention to what I get fired up about and what I like to talk about. And the theme that I keep seeing, at least in this stage of my life, is freedom. Freedom from guilt, like we talked about. Freedom from society's expectations of you. Oh, well, my mother-in-law thinks I should be a stay-at-home mom, so I guess it's selfish to pursue this dream. Or I've had this idea in my heart, but I don't think I'm good enough. I think somebody's already doing it better. So just setting women free to pursue their God-given gifts, to give them confidence in who God created them to be. Freedom in that. The freedom to go after those dreams. The freedom to be who they were created to be. The word over and over again, I just keep feeling, is freedom. Freedom from guilt. Freedom from Pinterest perfect standards. Freedom from competition from each other. Freedom from mommy shaming and mommy wars. Just freedom from that, and speaking truth and life over that. That doesn't just say that on a fluffy level, but gives them tactics, like we did with pricing, that gives them tactics of how to manage the guilt, manage their time, manage the competition, manage mean moms being mean. When I give them tools in their tool belt that they can move forward in freedom, for me, that'd be an incredible legacy. Because let's be honest, Doug, like, no one's going to remember me for being the sweetest. Like, it's like no one sees like, oh, Christy Wright, she's so sweet. Like, I'm fun, I'm energetic, I'm smart, I'm enthusiastic. But it's like I don't have the gift of just being like sweet. But I do think I'm empowering, and I want to I care about people deeply. Like I said, I'm sensitive, but I think there's an empowerment that is stronger for me of the helping people feel free and who God made them to be.
I love that. And last question, we'll just leave this open-ended. Anything else you want to leave leaders with today?
Yeah, I would just say, and I'm sure they know this, but just as another voice, what you're doing matters. The responsibility that you have of influence. And by the way, anywhere that you lead it to any group of people, I don't care if you have 2 followers or 2 million followers or a team that's small or a team that's big, the group that you lead is an incredible responsibility and an incredible gift, that you get to speak life into them. You get to love them. You get to encourage them and teach them and mature them and pour into them. What an unbelievable gift that what you do matters. Even if you don't see the fruits of your labor right now, it matters. A great example that I'd love to wrap up with, Doug, is when I was in high school, I was a lost, crazy, immature girl. I had wounds from my dad that I was just lost. I came in as a freshman, didn't know God, became a Christian my sophomore year of high school through Young Life. And I had a Young Life leader that walked with me all through high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. I became a Christian my sophomore year. And I would love to say that I had this magical turnaround, but I didn't. Doug, I left just a little less crazy than I did when I came in as a freshman. I'm sure my Young Life leader, Jasmine, saw me leave and saw no fruits of the hours she spent on the sidelines of my soccer games or at my pageants or hanging out with me over coffee, telling me, that God loves me. She probably didn't feel like there was any point to any of that. And who I am today is a direct product of how she invested and loved me. That's what a leader does. Even if you don't see the fruits, you are planting seeds that God will water in seasons that you may never get to experience. And I hope you do. I hope they come back to you like I've gone back to Jasmine and told her how much she means to me. But even if you don't, what you're doing matters greatly in the kingdom of God and in the world. And so I just want to thank your listeners. I want to thank the leaders listening for what you do and the people you shepherd.
Oh, thank you so much, Christy. This was fantastic, and look forward to listening to it again. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to my interview with Christy. I hope that you enjoyed it. You can find ways to connect with her and links to everything that we discussed in the show notes at l3leadership.org/episode 205. And just a reminder that listeners get 10% off of her Nashville event by simply using the code L3Leadership. So again, you can go to businessboutique.com, look at their events, and just use the coupon code L3Leadership, and you will get 10% off of your ticket price. I want to thank our sponsor, Alex Dulandon. Alex is a full-time realtor with Keller Williams Realty, and if you are looking to buy or sell a house in the Pittsburgh market, Alex is your guy. He is a member and a supporter of L3 Leadership, and he would love an opportunity to connect with you. You can learn more about Alex and connect with him at pittsburghpropertyshowcase.com. I also want to thank our other sponsor, Henny Jewelers. They're a jeweler owned by my friend and mentor, John Henny. My wife, Laura, and I got our engagement and wedding rings through Henny Jewelers, and we just think they're an incredible organization. Not only do they have great jewelry, but they also invest in people. In fact, they give every engaged couple a book to help them prepare for their marriage, which I absolutely love. And so if you're in need of a good jeweler, check out hennyjewelers.com. And as always, if you want to stay up to date with everything we're doing here at L3 Leadership, you can simply sign up for our email list at l3leadership.org, and you'll start to get weekly emails with everything we're doing here. As always, I like to end with a quote, and I love Gerald Brooks, and he recently said this. He said, "Leadership isn't easy. The truth is that there are more leaders who fail than succeed, so never take your leadership journey for granted." I love that. Just a great reminder. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of L3 Leadership. Laura and I appreciate you so much, and we will talk to you next episode.